Honored Chairperson, students have long been the fashion police's favourite target, with rules that ban everything from spaghetti straps to neon hair. But here's a thought: what if teachers were held to the same expectations as their students? Imagine a world where Mr. Smith can't wear his favourite Hawaiian t-shirt because it's
too distracting,
or Mrs. Johnson gets her attention for her open-toed sandals. We stand here today to persuade you that if students are expected to adhere to certain rules to promote discipline and focus, teachers, as role models, should reflect those same standards. We feel that they should
practice what they preach.
My team, Jade, Bouwer, Chanelle, and Tyler, are going to focus on 3 key areas that need to be addressed.
Tattoos, piercings, and clothing.
And we ask ourselves,
is it truly an expression of personality?
Or is it just power play?
this is quite a controversial topic, but my team and I are going to make it crystal clear. Jade here will take a closer look at piercings.
Ladies and gentlemen, should learners be allowed to have piercings? Should they be held equal to adults when it comes to norms in schools? Now, I know some people think about piercings and immediately picture a person with a tongue piercing or a hole big enough to see through in their ear. But before we run to the piercing police, let's think about this matter. We all actually like piercings,
Some more than others.
but we like teachers we can look up to even more. Agla Stern, a medical doctor in the journal The Lancet, in an article on body piercings, 7 May 2021 says, those piercings may degrade credibility of the teachers with both parents and learners. Secondly, I'm focusing on double standards. I mean, when I sit in a classroom and a teacher wears bling from ears to nose and even eyebrows, and yet I'm not allowed to have more than one stud in my ear, that screams double standards all the way.
How can they expect students not to have piercings when teachers look like Christmas trees?
Exactly.
In When Fairness Fails, Unmasking Double Standards in Education on www.thinkingineducation.com, educational psychologist Eric Jones on 3 September 2022 says, we've all heard the phrase, life isn't fair growing up. But when systematic double standards seep into education, the very institution meant to level the playing field, it's hard not to ask, what double standard is this? My third argument links with what Tyler and Bouwer said. Piercings are one of the ways that young people show their individuality and self-image. I read on www.psychologytoday.com that research by the University of Padua, published in the journal Personal Construct Theory and Practice, July 2020, states that piercings are meaningful for individuals. The idea that learners should not have freedom to express themselves through piercings can make them feel like they cannot participate in modern life. It's not just a nose ring.
But a way in which we communicate with the world.
Now here is something mind-blowing. Piercings in the nose or ear do not mean learners' focus will be worse.
Actually, quite the opposite. It can provide a feeling of confidence and self-worth that can improve motivation and focus in class.
And this doesn't mean learners' or teachers' unique traits should be erased, but rather that we should maintain a professional environment that balances
Self-expression.
and collaboration.
Thank you very much, Jade, for the detailed information on body jewelry. Bowen, what's your take on this?
Well, I agree with Jade. Is it fair to expect learners and teachers to meet the same appearance standards? Yes, but let's take it one step further. Should learners be allowed to have tattoos? Now, I'm not saying we should start tattooing all the learners in school, though.
Though that can make for a real fun class.
First, let's look at the fact that we expect learners not to have visible tattoos. Why isn't the same expectations made for teachers? In the South African Bill of Rights on www.justice.gov.za, Chapter 2, Sections 7 to 39, all people have full and equal enjoyment of their rights and freedoms, and no person may unfairly be discriminated against, according to the South African Constitution 1996. When learners see teachers with tattoos or other visual self-expressions, they can quickly assume that it is acceptable for them to do the same, not just in school but at society at large.
I've heard the question, if a teacher can have a tattoo, why can't I?
And that shows us the importance of equal expectations, Tyler. We can't ask learners to follow standards we don't apply to teachers. Secondly, tattoos today are increasingly acceptable as a form of personal identity. A study by behavior psychologists King and Viderick in the Social Science Journal on www.sciencedirect.com, April 2023, found that 29.6% of young people have tattoos.
That women are more likely than men to get them.
The idea that tattoos are a distraction is often exaggerated. If you build a school culture that supports equal expressions and creativity without undermining academics, why should it be a problem? We might create a more innovative and enjoyable space.
That's true.
If a learner has a tattoo representing the culture or important life lesson, why should it be a problem?
That is just another way to bring who they are into the academic environment.
Precisely. Now, I know what you might be thinking.
But it looks unprofessional.
It's not the right image.
Well, yes, there's a line. And that brings us to my third argument. Tattoos should be an appropriate, non-distracting area, otherwise it's unprofessional. On www.timelesstattoos.com, known tattoo artist Kitty Sack explains in Your Body, Your Ink, 15 June 2021, that tattoos are a living artist on our body. Placement is important. It can carry meaning and affect your profession. Tattoos on our arms, thighs, collarbone and chest can be visible, but easily well hidden in professional settings. Now, I'm not saying that this means we should means learners or teachers should erase their unique traits. It means we create a professional space where balance is maintained between self-expressions and respect.
You are right, Bouwer. Learners should have the freedom to express themselves, but obviously within the framework of a respectful academic environment. And if we want learners to meet equal standards, teachers should be held to the same standards. But I can see Chanelle is eager to share thoughts as well. Chanelle, the floor is yours.
Right, Tyler, it is expected of learners to conform to modest clothing norms. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are you on about? Dress codes are clear. What does modesty even have to do with school? But is it fair to expect learners to follow specific dress codes while teachers are excused from them? According to Bouwer on www.bouwer.com, this well-known fashion designer defines modest clothing on his blog, August 2023, as apparel that is more conservative. He reckons this should be expected in the teaching profession, and I agree.
Yep, just think about it. Learners jump through hoops to meet their strict uniform rules, while the teacher strolls in wearing a Batman-themed t-shirt and no one bats an eye.
It surely makes you wonder why a teacher may express themselves through style, but learners may not.
We fully support equal standards, not only because it's fair, but it sets an example for learners to follow. Secondly, the idea of modest dress is often shaped by outdated norms and stereotypes. What does it even mean to be modest in modern society? Must a learner wear a shirt and tie to be considered respectful, or can a graphic tee and jeans show just as much focus and dedication? We've reached a point in society where the definition of modest is completely subjective. What one person finds modest, another finds
outdated.
Sarah Wong, a visual media expert, says on www.tudungpeople.com on 6 September 2021, in Self-Expression in All Its Forms, that modest fashion is about so much more than covering up. It's about embracing confidence, self-expression, and empowerment. Sure, for some people a Batman shirt and shorts in the classroom might cause a bit of a cultural shock. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, learners deserve the freedom of communication.
Here's a thought worth chewing on. The clothes learners choose are often the first way in which they connect with the world.
Right, Bouwer? Whether it's a graphic t-shirt with deep personal meaning or a pair of jeans that makes them feel like they're walking a runway, it all contributes to how they communicate themselves. It's not just about fashion, it's really about
Communication.
Helping young people develop the tools to express themselves in a healthy and mature way. And this healthy and mature way must be displayed by teachers too. In an article, Clothing as a Form of Non-Verbal Communication, on www.medium.com, 8 December 2019, reporter Caitlin Swim refers to what Dr. Baumgarten, a clinical psychologist, says in her book, You Are What You Wear. She states that clothing is a language, a non-verbal system of communication by which we send a message. So, while I agree that modest dress should not be completely rejected, I do feel the need to find a balance between professional expectations and giving learners the space to express themselves through clothing. So, next time you walk into the classroom and see a learner wearing a t-shirt you don't understand, just remember, it's not a fashion choice, it's a piece of who they are.
Thank you, Chanelle. That was very informative. We definitely agree that how you dress is an important part of self-expression. Body jewellery, tattoos and piercings are not just aesthetic decisions, they're reflections of
Our confidence.
Individuality.
And identity.
when we talk about school children, there's no reason that they shouldn't have the same freedom of self-expression. Learners, just like teachers, are people with their own personalities, beliefs and lives. That's why it's only fair to say that they should be held to the same standards as their teachers when it comes to self-expression.
Through body jewellery.
Tattoos.
Or clothing.
Don't feel inhibited, express yourself and
Be who you really are.